a song. Say the word and I'll come home. Check the spelling on the stone. Just check the spelling on my stone.
Hello, everybody, in this pre-happy Easter Eve. I guess if you want to call it that, Easter Eve. Why not, right? Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you're all doing well. All right. I have my friend Jim here. Hi, Sandy. How are you? Happy Holy Saturday. Okay, yeah, cool. Happy Holy Saturday. Hello, happy Easter Eve to all. I'll be listening while I'm working. Laugh out loud, Rita. Cool. And Easter, sure. Right. I'm just going to put these up here. We can. All right. And of course, Jim said hello to everybody. All right. So we got a lot to cover and read. So I'm going to, guys. Oh, let me see. Hello, everyone. Happy Resurrection Weekend. Yes, happy Resurrection Day weekend to you, too. Some people are already in Easter. Australia, I'm sure there'll be some on. If not, they can watch the recording. We know Easter's a difficult time. I did not come on Thursday night. I had another event or whatever, and then it ended up getting canceled last minute. I'm like, oh, well, too late. I already put the post out, so I took the night off. So just let you guys know that I am still on tonight. And we're going to do some more reading on numerology and astrology tonight. And I think there's an interview here as well. We'll just read it. I'll just read as much as I can today and try to finish it. Obviously, this book has some information might be incorrect. I don't know. I didn't write it. So we'll just do the best we can. So I think we left off with the numerology involved in the year, his birthday, his name, his birthday, and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to just pick up here, and then I think we finished with, oh, we didn't finish this one. So she said she received letters concerning Elvis's numbers, and many of them are focusing on 2001 in total. And what I said last week was quite interesting, was even this book is copyrighted in 2001, which I thought was like, not really a coincidence, but maybe it is. Don't know. He said even Lisa's first wedding, October 3rd, 1988, equals 2001 in numerology. So I'm just going to go on, put this on stage here. And I'm going to just read this a little bit before I read more, because she doesn't really cover too much of this. But these are the quotes from Is Elvis Alive? About the Cairo's Book of Numbers. So she said he often consulted the Cairo's Book of Numbers. He mentioned it in this book many times. Even Byrne at the end of the book in the letter said he pulled out the Book of Numbers. There was a bunch of other friends and so on that have written books about him, including Wanda June Hill, Larry Geller, Priscilla Presley, and of course, Jerry Schilling. Can't even say this today. I all mentioned the Book of Numbers and his numerology studies in his religions and other religions and so on. So there was a big influence in his life on those things. He always planned his life around numbers. Everything that he planned out was done by numbers. And then she said he took the book with him all the time. He never left home without it. And the meaning of a vibration is the number it took on significance. So Elvis planned to die in his 40s like his mother, she said. And Gladys's birth was April 25th, 1912, and she died August 14th, 1958, and she was 46 years old. All right. So I think she was kind of giving us that information about that. Also, there was more. So checking the ideal vibration would be to leave on the number 24. So his actual correct name and the numbers of his name based on the letters and the numbers assigned to each letter. Elvis equaled the number 9. Aaron equaled the number 6 with 1A. And Presley equaled the number 9. And if you add 9, 6, and 9 together, it equals 24. So 24 means fortunate, promises, assistance, and associated to those rank, position, and the most favorable number in relation to such plans. So he knew the power of threes. So the 8th month, 16th day, plus 1977, and you will come up with 2001. And 2001 was also the name of the concert theme. So if Elvis wanted to depart on 814, but it did not work out number wise. So 8 plus 16 equals 24, and 1977 equals 24. So it was more ideal for him to plan it then because it equals 24. Everything kind of equals 24 and in relation to Elvis's plans. Okay. So like I had repeated this from last week. So each letter of his name, or in my name, Jim's name, whoever's name, has a number to each letter. You would add those up, and then you would add the final number. So 5 plus 3 plus 6 plus 1 plus 3 at the bottom here, Elvis equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. And he also said his birthday number was 8, but his name number was 9. So the number 8, they are lonely at heart. They hide their feelings, and he does as he pleases. But he used 8s a lot in his plan. Everything has to do with 8. All right, so there was a lot to do with 8. So what they were asking is, where is the book? So she mentions Priscilla told everyone in her book that she went to his bedroom and found his nightstand void of the books. And the inventory of the estate was missing the Bible and the Cairo's book of Numbers. And the truth book also, there was mentioned that he used the Cairo's book of Numbers. So he must have took it with, couldn't leave without it.
That's like when he left, the inventory of what was there that he supposedly left behind. There was 2 pieces of jewelry, and we all know he had a lot more jewelry than that.
All right. So the reason why I'm going over this real quickly is because the Cairo's book of number does mention astrology as well in it. Capricorn, Virgo, and all that kind of thing. So when we cover this part of the book here, we'll kind of understand it a little more. It's hard to understand. I am not a numerology person at all. This is just the facts that she came up with in her book. So I'm going to exit out of this and take this down, and I'm going to read now the Elvis files. So she said, although she does not totally understand numerology, she does accept the value to many believers. And since we obviously use numbers for daily calculations as well as calendar numbers to relate to time and the universe, I have no problem accepting a systematic relationship between mankind, personality, or personhood, and a universal law or order, because numbers are order. So a numerology file by Widening Horizons Incorporated, done on Elvis Aaron with 1A Presley, told us such traits: a philanthropist and humanitarian. Yes, humanitarian. Okay. A great compassion, moodiness when upset, intensive feelings, inspiration to others, expresses himself via music, ability to organize, analyze, and supervise, which make for a fine leader, demanding of himself, seeker of high standards, uncomfortable with dealing with finances. Do those fit, Elvis? These sections of the Widening Horizons profile are particularly interesting since they deal with Elvis at midlife. Under re-evaluating material freedom, we find this advice. Sometimes in the middle of your life, most likely between the ages of 35 and 50, you'll probably reevaluate the satisfactions you've obtained with immaterial freedom and power which you've achieved. At that time, you'll probably focus on your current work and potential you see for further development. You're likely to evaluate your career in terms of future financial and status possibilities. Because of the midlife appraisal, it wouldn't be surprising if you make some important alterations in your attitudes and actions in regard to your career in order to achieve greater satisfaction. So, under your current balance concerned with material achievement, we discover the strain involved in striving for money, status, and success is likely to be substantially, I can't read today, diminished with your current name. Although you are probably still interested in these matters, chances are that you are a better sense of proportion about them. You can now work on your material needs with considerable ease. You'll have far more pleasure from your accomplishments and advance a good deal further with more reasonable expenditure of energy. Finally, under your current feelings of restriction, we read, with your current name, you may feel boxed in and unable to change your course to more productive direction. If you rationalize your uncomfortable position, your predicament isn't likely to change. Instead of accepting much needed help, you're apt to feel that your friends who offer constructive comments don't understand the situation. The solution to your feeling of limitation often involves revising your viewpoint and adopting a lighter, more flexible approach. It will probably take a lot of effort to change your way of seeing things, but that is likely to be the best possible, the only, possibly the only way to ease your difficulties. And if you choose not to change, or if you are lazy and indifferent, the pressures may intensify. So one cannot discuss Elvis and numerology without discussing astrology, the influence of the stars and planets on human affairs. The following letter from the king himself has been on display at the $1 Million Museum in Memphis. Elvis entitles it simply Astrology. It is designed so as to expose the ultimate in height and depth, to relate the strength and weaknesses of those who are willing to accept and are seeking a closer relationship with the divine, in order to recognize and collect one's faults and be in step, to be capable of understanding the necessity of the changing times, to participate, to create, to express, to appreciate, and to more fully understand his individual role in reaching the divine God. For man to more fully understand and to determine his own destiny, the realization that divine God is life itself. Upon being able to accept one's faults and weaknesses, to correct them in order to have a better understanding and to be capable of giving love and help to other human beings regardless of color or creed. To appreciate all people in breaking down of barriers and recognizing individual traits. To be sincere in having the desire to show gratitude and appreciation for which each individual has given to the world. You create a better understanding for yourself of life and the part of you, yourself, and others play in this world. And you are soon recognizing a brighter light within yourself, the sharing of that light with others, and feeling of importance of stressing or distributing the love and will of God. For Christ, who gave life and hope and faith to the millions of people who have accepted his sacrifice and ray of life. He taught to love the love of God and the importance of love of importance for the love of one another by keeping always the importance of expressing gratitude and respect to the greatest miracle of all, life itself. Okay. It is always saddening to discover that much of what man does not understand, he ridicules. So goes it with astrology and numerology, as we see at times with the book What Does Joan Say? My 7 Years as the White House Astrologer to Nancy and Ronald Reagan by Joan Quigley. I review it as ignorant not to use all the universe offers in making decisions, and could indeed affect not only the universe but one's personal life. Historians prove that more than one of the U.S. presidents used numerology and astrology as guides. Great philosophers and thinkers have used them as well. I have no doubt that there is proof that the moon affects mankind. Ask any physician or policeman about the full moon and the hemorrhaging and crime. People can kind of go crazy in the full moon. That's what I heard. Anyway, this alone should make one think and investigate the possibilities. I know many outward skeptics who read their horoscopes, which is why people such as Jean Dixon are read by millions. Elvis Presley also understood. However, we are entering a new age. Nancy R. of Coralton, Texas, asked me if I knew that on August 17th, 1987, the harmonic convergence took place, in which people all over the world celebrate the coming of a new age. The day before, a decade earlier, August 16th, 1977, was when Elvis Presley potentially calculated his death date. Synchronicity? Asked Nancy. We are also today on the threshold of the second millennium, said to usher in 1,000 years of peace. Teachers such as Joan Quigley can only smile and remain patient. Like a benevolent parent toward an unlearned child, they have to pull back and allow the child its continual crawl until it dares to walk. How childish remains so much more. How childish remains so much of mankind that I often wonder how those who have mastered keep their good humor and patience. But they know. Astrologically, August 16, 1977 was one of Elvis's most favorable days. Keep that in mind. Another letter from Debbie C. of Jackson, Tennessee, offered an astrological profile of Elvis Aaron Presley. She pointed out 54 characteristics of people born between December 21st and January 19th, which are Capricorns. Many of the characteristics do seem to describe Elvis, like ambitious, inspires confidence and trust, wins people over by charm, tries to be fair-minded, is generous with money, goes out of his way to help someone in trouble, gives away to depressed feelings, likes prestige, not afraid of hard work, enjoys his home, fond of music, emotions run deep, begins relationships with women by first being friends. Debbie goes further into the characteristics of individuals of the number 8. Deep and very intense natures, much misunderstood in life and intensely lonely at heart. Great strength of individuality, generally play an important role on life stage, but one that is fatalistic. Fanatics in their zeal. Warm hearts toward the oppressed of all classes. No happy medium. They're either great successes or great failures. If ambitious, they generally aim for public life, which involves great sacrifice. Are often called on to face the greatest sorrows, losses, and humiliations. Represent two worlds, spiritual and material. And after their death, their work is praised and lasting tributes are offered to their memory. So he therefore entered his career in the month of the sun and left in the month of the sun. How amazing that the giant pyramid is now being built in Memphis, Tennessee, an $80 million shrine to the king of rock and roll, where there will be special Elvis section with a jukebox playing all of Elvis's #1 hits. The pyramid is scheduled to open May 1991. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. I have no idea. Have you, Jim, ever heard of that? I don't know. Anyway, she now goes into another subject. She says, open minds are not afraid.
Nope, I ain't heard of it.
Huh?
No, I hadn't heard of it.
No, me neither. Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it was a temporary thing. I don't know. Open minds are not afraid of embracing the secrets of the universe. Also accept the truth that there is more to man than the 5 physical senses, and that indeed man has a sixth sense or psychic sense of intuition, whatever translation is comfortable. As numerology and astrology go hand in hand, thus do other ideas such as astral projection, psychic energy, and the power of the pyramids, and so on. Elvis particularly felt a connection with the ancient capital of Egypt, Memphis, and he felt it was his destiny to play such an important role in Memphis, Tennessee. The sun figure plays a prominent role in Egyptology. The sun played an important role in Egypt in Elvis's life. He recorded his first record in Sun Studios in August, the month of the sun. In 1977, the sundial suit was the only suit Elvis wore on his last 2 tours. Not long after, again in the month of the sun, Elvis made an exit. So I guess January is a month of the sun and August is a month of the sun. Interesting.
You don't need to be around here.
Priscilla Presley has said people put him in a place he could not live up to. They just didn't understand that he wasn't a god. He was a man. However, according to Robert H. Crumby of Nashville's Dulcalson Presbyterian Church, it is not unusual that Elvis would be deified. The Romans made gods of their emperors and great generals have been exalted, and I think the loyal fans became enamored with Elvis long before they realized he had imperfections. The cover of my novel, Orion, reads, when a man didn't want to be a god anymore. And from that book, just before the singer left the world. Now, this is Orion, not Elvis. The worst sin you have ever committed was to believe you held a monopoly on morality. You're human, Orion, and you've made a lot of mistakes, one hell of a lot. But that was yesterday. Forgive yourself and say, I'm not such a bastard after all. I am a man, not a god. and I have every right to make mistakes. Let gods lament and chastise themselves. I made mistakes yesterday and I'll make more tomorrow, but that's okay because I am a man. That I am a man, Orion murmured. So that was a quote from her book, Orion. So she said, from my personal knowledge of the fans, most of them did not worship Elvis as they worship God, but rather worship or are drawn to the godlikeness exuded from Elvis, or the love or light or energy, and God equals love. Still, Elvis was and is a man. Now, a lot of many people said he was charismatic, he was full of light, he was a great man, and many idolized him as a god. And I remember his quote, and he told one of his fans,
That phone, other phone.
I'm not the king, Jesus is the king. And the other quote that's very famous for Elvis to say was that it's very hard to live up to an image. So he did not like to be considered an image or God. So still, Elvis is a man. There are some theologians who fault Elvis for his loving nature, his charisma, as though he were the devil in disguise. He did not ask for this worship, and those who give it to him do not fully understand why they are relating to him so profoundly. If they could simply accept his loving nature as a guide and use it to do good rather than use it to imprison him, then what he gives would multiply or 1,000-fold over.
All I need is the code.
Huh? What?
I was talking to Christy.
Oh, okay. I have no problem accepting that Elvis was and will always be the special light in the universe, a gift from God. Yet, I also know that there is a part of God in all or most of us. I know that when I created Orion, her book or her character, I felt that Elvis must have suffered. In the following extract from the book, young Orion, with his childhood friend Tuck, discusses a place in the universe. Here, Orion first voiced his desire to be something special or out of the ordinary, like the sun. Then, when Tuck reminds him that the sun is just a star, Orion replies, but it's not just a star, Tuck. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The sun is the king of the stars and is the greatest star of all, and its light is brighter and warmer. So Tuck tried to comprehend what Orion was attempting to explain to him, but his meaning was elusive. So if the star burns out, nobody much cares because there are so many million stars burning and there are more being born. But if the sun burns out, well, then everybody notices. Even in an eclipse, the sun is only black for a moment and people take notice and they worry. Now, I know Jim experienced the eclipse completely at the sun when he eclipsed it went totally dark. Not really up here, we didn't get that, but you guys had a whole eclipse, right? Where you were when the sun
what?
the sun when he had the total
Oh
eclipse.
yeah, when we had that eclipse here last year, it went
Yeah.
totally dark there.
All right. So that's what he's kind of referring to. So if the sun would die, the whole universe would mourn. So Orion lowered his eyes, pondering what he had said. Never had he become so deeply involved with life, nor so anguished. And even though he was only 10, a sense of time and death took hold, the panic-stricken feeling that he was in a race with life itself. So I could go on with that, but I'm going to go down here further because I want to skip over some and go to the next section. So further evidence of Elvis's psychic vibrations was brought out in 1988 documented television interview on Las Vegas. with Goodman show. Goodman was spotlighting Brian Corleone. Okay, so BG is Bill Goodman, and the BC is Brian Corleone. Okay, so I'm Bill Goodman. I welcome you to the story behind the story. Today, we're going to look into the personality of Elvis Presley, the possibility, of Elvis Presley being alive. Some folks in Kalamazoo, Michigan claim they have seen him driving around in a red Ferrari, and with us is Brian Corleone, who is the director of the Institute of Parapsychology in Las Vegas. Brian, you've met Elvis Presley and you were with him more than once. How about telling when you first met him and the last time you saw him before his death? So Brian says, well, the first time I met Elvis was at a school dance I was going to a private school with. I don't remember if it was his godson or nephew or something like that. Anyway, this classmate had said that Elvis met Pop in to offer the graduating classes congratulations, and we were all out in the inaudible end of the ballroom waiting for him, and he did show up, and when I shook hands with him, I was amazed at the dot. Mean people have described his personality as electric, and there really was some sort of electricity that felt like coming off of him. Then the last time I saw him was several years later at the Hilton, and I was as close to him as I am to you, and the scarves that he used to throw at the audience were going over my head. And I felt the same charisma or electricity or vibration or whatever you want to call it. I've never felt since then anybody with such unique and dynamic vibrations. Bill asked him, what do you attribute that to? Brian answered, well, of course, the first time I met him, I had not really been into parapsychology as deeply as I am now. The only thing I could figure is the man had a great deal of wonderful karma. He had so much within him that was dying to get out. I had once heard somebody say that if Elvis Presley had ever really let go of everything that he had within him, there wouldn't have been billboards big enough or lights bright enough. And from that, I felt coming off of him. I agree. So Bill asked, repeat that again. People are saying that there wouldn't be lights bright enough if he were to give off his total energy. Brian said, right. Very often he held a lot of dynamicness, if that's the word in. Okay. And I never felt like he was really letting go. Even with all the movement on stage, there was something restrained in him. So Bill says, so there was something different about these vibrations. They were so intense you would never forget them. And Brian said they were unmistakable and unforgettable. So Bill said, now, Brian, there came a time when a real ardent Elvis Presley fan asked you to go to Graceland and see for yourself because of your parapsychology background to see if, in fact, he was in that grave. Brian says, well, she mainly wanted me to try to communicate with Elvis since the announcement of his death, and I had been invited to preside over several dark rooms, which is like a seance. Elvis is one of the few people I never been able to raise. I was curious about that. She was frustrated about it because usually she was the one who has to talk to Elvis in the dark rooms. So we flew to Graceland, went on the tour. Nobody knew who we were, just a couple of hick tourists. When we went past the grave site, I felt absolutely nothing. Now, part of my training and parapsychology was being taken through cemeteries. My teacher at the time was Richard King, and he'd point to a grave and say, "Tell me about the person buried here." He did this with maybe 300 to 500 graves. I never really kept tab. And one time he said, "Tell me what you feel from this one." I felt nothing. As it turned out, it was a mock grave that had been used for a movie that had been filmed there, and there was really never really anybody buried there. I felt the same nothingness from Elvis's grave. So, Bill says, let's go back now. The vibrations you felt when he was alive at the Hilton, would they still have been there with the body dead as a dead body? I don't know anything about the vibrations. So Brian continued. The characteristics of the vibrations would have been the same, but the intensity would be far less. So Bill says, they are not there. Nothing. Nothing. I may, Brian, and making sure I get the right names here. I may as well have been standing in front of a hat box. So Bill says, so you can unequivocally say, as far as you're concerned, Elvis Presley's body was not in that grave. And Brian says, not a body as it was presented in the nudes, the human form in the glass-lidded coffin. If Elvis is in that grave, in my opinion, either the body was later cremated or they must have put it in lead casing, because lead is the only thing that will cut out the kind of electrical frequency. Human vibrations are a form of electricity. So Bill says, so you're saying once again that unless he is encased in lead or cremated, he definitely was not in that grave. Brian says, I tend to believe that he isn't in that grave. Felt no vibrations, nothing whatsoever. Did you at any time feel any of his vibrations on the property at Graceland? And Brian said, yes, when we went on tour of the mansion itself, there are doors that lead to what we know as the family wing. This is a part of the mansion reserved for the family and the caretakers and so on. The public was not admitted there. As we walked past those doors, I suddenly could not move. I was literally paralyzed with fear because I felt the same vibrations I had felt when I shook hands with him and when I saw him at the Hilton. I felt those exact same vibrations at the same intensity level coming from the other side of those doors. So Brian said, so if I'm hearing you correctly, that means as far as you're concerned, he was alive behind those doors. If it's the same intensity and you only feel the same vibrations when they are alive, and they were the same. Yes, Brian confirmed. Then he was behind those doors as far as you're concerned? Brian says he was alive in some sense. Now, I've heard a lot of people theorize that he was not dead, but dead when they found him and he was in a coma, and that maybe he's on life support systems behind those doors. If that's the case, that would explain the intensity of the vibrations, because the consciousness of the soul and the living being is coupled with the life force that gives off a double intensity of vibrations. When a person crosses over and dies, whatever you want to call it, a life force is no longer there, only the consciousness. And without the life force to give it that extra energy, the intensity drops. I understand that, but you're also saying that no matter what condition the body was in, he was alive. Brian says, yes. Behind those doors. Now, How many years ago was that? That was about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. Or so 6 years ago, the man could still be in a coma, could have been anywhere, but the vibrations were there and he is alive. He was alive. Yes. Bill says, and more recently, he had been spotted in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Right, Brian says. It's really becoming more and more fascinating with this man. You also mentioned the fact that you could not reach him during the dark room on the other side. Is that correct? Right. I have been asked to contact Mae West, W.C. Fields, some of the real old timers, and they've always come through. But Elvis Presley, nothing comes through with Elvis Presley. BG, that's amazing, isn't it? Either he's not there or he doesn't want to come here. And then Brian says, right, a spirit has the same thought patterns. If you want to call them that, as a living person. If a lot of living people don't want to be bothered on the telephone, they don't pick it up. If a spirit doesn't want to be bothered, it's not going to respond. I tend to believe that Elvis has not crossed over. So
What I
Bill
was
says,
fixing to say, it's hard for a spirit to talk to you from the other side when they're not over there. They're still on this side.
All right. So I guess this Bill Goodman guy had a hard time comprehending this, but he keeps repeating himself. So which simply means that he's alive. Let's get right down to it. And Brian says, in one form or another. Okay, so Bill says, right. He is laid up in a hospital bed or something of that nature, but alive. Right, yes. He could even be driving around in that red Ferrari. Brian says, very possible. Very possible. Brian Corleone is the director of the Institute of Parapsychology, trained in this. He has no trouble reaching people on the other side. He cannot reach Elvis Presley on the other side. You did say one thing to me, Brian, and I think we should bring it up. And there's a middle place there too, which we never wanted to get involved with. When you felt those vibrations down there at Graceland, you thought he could actually pull you through the door. Yes, I felt like if I had reached out, he would have been able to grab hold of me, and you wouldn't be here today. Well, if he was on the other side, I tend to believe that was his spirit. He could have sucked me right through the veil. So Bill says, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it right here on the story behind the story. Elvis Presley could be alive. Brian, thank you very much for coming by. And Brian says, thank you. And for enlightening us. And boy, one question. Do you want to see him come back? And Brian says, I would like to just know he's somewhere and that he's happy and he's at peace with himself. Do you think he would come back? And Brian says, that's something only he could answer. I don't think so, though. Let's leave it up to him. Yeah, the king himself. Okay, so that was quite an interview. And so there was one other thing that she had mentioned about the song Way Down, but I listened to that song 3 times today, and I did not hear what she wrote here. She's saying fate was growing closer, and look at my resistance found lying on the floor. And I heard, babe, you're getting closer. And I heard it 4 times, so I'm like, I don't get where she got fate. But anyway, yeah, she thinks there were clues in the song Way Down. And that's all I'm going to cover today. And I think that's pretty much it for this chapter. And since I've been reading for 44 minutes, so that's long enough. All right. So let's where did I leave off? Okay. Hi, Joanne. How are you tonight? All right. Hi, Francis. How are you? Happy Easter to you too. Hi, Orion girl. Happy Easter to you too. Hi, Judy. Happy Easter to you. Hi, Purple Green. How are you tonight? And Jane, how are you tonight? Start early, 10 a.m. Now, I started at 8 o'clock here, so yeah, I started kind of early. Hi. Oh, we've got these people. Used to like the sundial suit, now change it to
Conquistador.
Conquistador? All right. I actually like, I don't know, out of all his concert suits, the sundial suit is beautiful. I gotta say that.
I like that peacock suit too.
Yeah, the peacock suit is like one of my favorites, I think, out of his jumpsuits. I like that one a lot.
That's what that photo was. He autographed and sent me. It was him wearing the peacock suit.
Yeah, I like that one. Oh, Jane wants to know how you doing, Jim.
I'm doing all right. That's Missouri.
Elvis is our king of the song R&R.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll, yeah. Elvis is so gifted. When God sharing blessings, our Elvis went to him. Yeah. Elvis's favorite genre, according to Elvis radio, was gospel music. And they actually played a good song yesterday, and I forgot about that. Was Who Am I? That's a great song.
No, you come in.
We don't know. I don't know if Elvis ever visited the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I know he lived in Kalamazoo.
He lived in Kalamazoo. I almost bet you money he went to upstate Michigan. It's beautiful up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he traveled all over the place, so it's a possibility. I wouldn't outrule it. I can't tell you, but that dog in your background barking, I don't know. There wasn't one in mine.
Well,
So.
if you're talking about this dog over here next door barking his head off.
I didn't realize it was a live here today. Yeah, I went live on YouTube on Saturday. I just missed the Thursday one. I had an overlapping commitment, and then it was canceled. And I'm like, well, too late now. I already put out the cancellation for the live stream on Facebook. So Joy usually does a live every Saturday around 8. Yeah, 8:30, depending on my day. But I was home today. I had like a sprained ankle. So I stayed home to rest it. Or a twisted ankle. Hope, true joy, casket empty, and Elvis somewhere around. Yeah,
Well, I'll guarantee you. I'll just
the
put this
casket
out
has
there.
melted wax.
I'll put this out there. Elvis's casket ain't got nothing but a big candle in it, and there ain't nobody buried at Graceland. That's the biggest crock of bullshit that ever come along. They're all in a private cemetery.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we don't know, but anyway. I believe Elvis didn't watch Spa Guy. And there was a backdoor Graceland closed the airport. So, yeah, maybe. Sorry I was late. That's no problem. Happy Easter. Managed to get on the live. It's 2:44 a.m. in Spain. Oh, my word. Well, I'm glad you stayed up to watch the show. Happy Easter to you, too. Peacock suit is one of my favorites. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, that's a mouth.
The rainbow suit? Okay.
That husky that you were just petting?
What?
It was a male husky.
UP, Michigan
Trying to get
is
off the
no
back
man's
of the
land. Okay. I agree with Jim. Not buried anywhere. Right. Elvis is not buried anywhere because he's not dead. Just his wax candle, his melted
Well,
wax candle.
like I said, there's nobody buried there. That's been confirmed to me. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hi Barbara, how are you tonight? All right. So it's quite interesting how that guy said though he felt his electric vibration energy or soul energy or whatever you want to call it at Graceland inside the house. But I
yep.
heard that Jesse Elvis did used to visit Graceland and used to hide upstairs or in the secret passageways. And there's
He still vi- he
there's
still vi-
Graceland.
he still visits Graceland. Probably not as
Yeah.
much as he did at one time because he can't get around like he did, but he still goes there.
Please, Jim. True. Any update on from Linda? No, I have no updates, but we did find out from Linda's site that Wink Martindale, who was a very good friend of Elvis, died the other day. So she had like a memorial out on that. But we haven't heard anything from Jesse in a while. Jesse Elvis. How old was Elvis when he first learned about numerology? I'm gonna say it was in the 50s. Maybe even
Right?
before
Yep.
that.
It was in the 50s.
Yeah, because he claimed that he used numerology in Jailhouse
Now,
Rock.
he told me he used numerology in everything he ever did. He said if I
And
had a
all his
contract to sign or anything to do, he said if it wasn't in the numbers, he said I didn't do it. He said that's why I've been so successful.
yeah, he was involved in numerology like
Yeah.
way back.
Well, this old world, everything in this old world works off numbers, computers, everything.
Yeah.
Numbers is in everything.
And it could be it's an ancient study, so maybe he was interested in numbers. Maybe he's a numbers guy. Math
Yeah.
and all that. Maybe it was his strong suit. Who knows? So anyway. All right. And I think he did reveal in his book that he had some numerology clues in the movies that he was in as well. Jailhouse Rock has the 1313 and the bars there, which equal 8. And he had he mentioned in his book something about the gravestone on Loving You. Also, those numbers equaled 20. Equaled I remember 24. I have to double check that information later. I don't have it up right now, so let's see.
Oh, he finally got him.
Who is it?
David.
He already had that.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking in the notes here from the book. Well, there's numerology here. These were the dates of different artists and stuff like that that had been born the 8th or died on the 8th. And then this was interesting, the numerology in his father's date of death equaled 8. 2 plus 6 equals 8. And then,
Look at that. Look at the area code.
yeah, the area code 816. Yep. I was looking for that. These movie clues, but I don't think I put it on here. I think it's on a separate thing. Yeah. Anyway, I do have a clip. I think I do have a short on YouTube that has the movie clues on it, if I remember correctly. So if anyone's interested in looking at that, I think it's on here. If not, I will find it and I'll upload it for you guys. She says you sound like you're from Tennessee, but
No,
southern part of the United States as well.
no, I'm from next door, Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. Now you're in Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Southern accent.
Okay, what do I mean? I'm gonna see if I can find the picture. Give me a second. I'm gonna upload that up. I have an image, but you're gonna give me a second to find it.
Three plus three equals 6. Two more would be 8.
Okay, that's not a good picture. Hold on, let me get the other one. I have one that has a better I'm up close. Okay, well, that's just interesting, but 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 4 is 12. The number on his jacket here equals 12. Okay, let's see. And 12 plus 12 would be 24, which is the number that he likes. No, that's not the one I need. All right, there's one more I have. Okay, well, that's not going to help me. If you look in these doors, okay, if you can like look up close, if you can enlarge that, if you have an iPhone or something, on these bars here, it says 1313 on these bars. Can't really tell in this picture. I have an up close picture, I just don't know where it is. Like it's not showing up on my computer. The files, you know. Try this one. Okay, here you go. All right, so on the bars of the Jailhouse Rock, you see the 1313. 1 plus 3, 1 plus 3 equals 8. And you see on the other side of the other side is 1313 as well. So each bar had a 1313 on it. So you had 2 13s at 8 plus 8 is 16. Okay, so that's one. The loving you clue, I'll give you that one. Give me a second to get it up. So the ending year here is 1934, and if you were to add those together, they equal a number. I believe it's 24. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 3 is 13, plus 4 is, well, nope, I'm not right. Not 24. Can't add today. Equals 17. So I don't know where that comes from. But anyway, somehow, some way, if you add them together, you might add both of those dates together and they equal a certain number. I can't remember the math on that. I'd have to look it up. Anyway. He said something to do with this tombstone. There's a clue, numerology clue on it. It could be the 1878. Yeah, that one. Okay. So the 1878 in the tombstone equals 24. So I think that's the one he was talking about in his book. Yeah, I'm glad you liked that. Interesting. Okay. I think I lost Jim somewhere. Oh, there he is. Hey, I had you bat on. And then the sundial suit does tell us something, yes. Which I have I think a short and a reel out on that on Facebook and a short on YouTube here. You can look at that if you want. All right. You can do a little quick overview of that. Hold on, I have an image for that too.
Well, I hope nobody believes that the sundial suit with the that's coincident because it's not.
Okay. Okay. So the sundial suit was definitely planned out accordingly. So if you were to look at the inside, there's some, I don't have an arrow here to help you guys. So I'm going to enlarge this myself so you can look at this better. The outside points, if you were to start at the top and count all the way around, those equal 16. There's 16 points on the outside of the suit. On the inside here, there are points as well. In between these arrows on the top, there are points. If you count those, that's 8. So this is 8 points, which is 8 month, 16th day. This is a Mayan a Mayan sundial suit calendar.
And right in the center of that belt there in the back, it says 77.
Yeah, I can't really see that, but you'd have to enlarge it. But also there are 7s somewhere up in the, I don't have an up close photo, but I do have it on the reel. But you can see between the 2 points, there are 7s written somewhere up there. And I'm not sure if it's the front or the back of the suit, but this is the back of the suit. It's quite interesting to look up online, but that's how you would know. So the outer points, there's 16. The inner points here along the sun, and the sun points, I guess we want to call them that, is 8. And then there's the little emblem down in the middle of the belt that says 77 on it. And there were some other things too that meant things, but I'm not sure.
Read what Jane put in the comments there. She's right. That 1934. Read it.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Now we got it. All right. So the first set of numbers equaled 24, believe it or not. And the second set of numbers, 1934, equals 8. You're right. So, all right. Sundial suit. Okay, wait a minute. It's kind of strange. My oldest daughter was born 8/16/1995. That's cool. All right. Oh, that would make her in numerology. That would make her a 7 on the Kara's book, a number. Because mine's 8/25, so I'm a 7. Interesting. I got goosebumps now. The SD suit. Last war, yeah. And he had many clues in his songs too. She was saying Way Down had clues, but I listened to, I think I read the lyrics, listened to the song, and it doesn't sound like that to me. But he said fate is getting closer, found on the floor, and so on and so forth. That song's about making love on the floor or something. Anyway, I think the farewell song is a bigger clue, and My Way, and there was another one that was a big clue on his last albums that he had. They had bigger clues on it. Even the song Righteous Brothers they had, that was a big clue. All right. So I think we're pretty much done. You guys have a great Easter. Have a good night. God bless y'all. Last farewell. Yeah, that's the song. So I'm going to I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of spelling on the stone on the way out. And you guys have a great night. God bless y'all and happy Easter to everybody. happy Easter on the other side of the world, and happy Easter tomorrow for everybody on this side of the world.
On the stone.
The legend lives, never dies. It's up to you
Sing the song.
to decide.
Say the word, and I'll come home. Check the spelling on the stone. Just check the spelling on my stone.
And I'll see you guys next week. God bless y'all. All right.